Hi everyone, it's Mike here. Welcome back to another Beaver video. Today's video is a series of clips that I filmed on the evening of August 20th, 2023, as 6 different beavers came by the spot where I was standing. My evening started out by finding one beaver, this one here, who had about 3 cottonwood branches that he had brought from shore before I arrived. And as you'll see over the course of the next hour or so, a number of beavers came through. Here the second beaver arrives. It was a little bigger one. It sort of took over the spot amongst the branches, but did not seem to mind that the little one also wanted to eat. So the two of them sat beside each other for quite a long time. So now this is a little while later. A kayak came by and scared them, and they moved off of their spots, but slowly came back. And while they were swimming, I moved to a different angle. And here you'll see the two of them find a place to eat and eventually settle in with a nice view of the buildings on the other side of the river as a backdrop. So I just sort of stayed put in this spot and continued filming. Well, as you saw, a third beaver arrived after a while and settled in to eat. It looked like they were all going to be very cooperative, and for the most part they were, but you'll see here that the third beaver that arrived wanted the biggest branch for himself, so he kind of snatches it and settles down to eat. Now you'll see here that a fourth beaver arrives. I think this might be the adult female. This one was just a bit bigger than the other beavers. In any event, her arrival seemed to cause a bit of a kerfluffle, and the beavers really reacted and they sort of all spread out. So for some reason, they weren't as comfortable when she arrived. This beaver stayed close to where the branches were, where they had all been originally eating. And as you'll see here, he was eventually joined by 4 duckies that stopped to peck at the grasses that are growing in the water, right where the branch was resting. And here you'll see a few minutes later, one of the beavers decided he wanted his sibling's branch and just went over and snatched it and found a spot to eat. After a few minutes, there was only one beaver still near the original spot. This is the beaver that swiped a nice branch from his sibling. He settled in just about 10 meters downstream to chew on this branch. And meanwhile, the other beavers had one by one set off on their way. So I decided to get one last panorama shot, and then I was going to leave. But as I would turn to walk away, I saw one more beaver arriving. So this would be the 5th beaver. And I realized it was Chewbacca, and he stopped to eat the little bits of leftover that were still floating in the grass where the beavers had been eating all of the big branches. But there was still enough left that Chewbacca felt it was worthwhile stopping. You'll see there that Chewbacca has a claw on his right hand that always sticks out. That's how I can recognize Chewbacca. And I was actually surprised. He's usually the first one to come downstream when the beavers wake up. But this day he was the 5th beaver to wake up. And you can see at this point it's starting to get closer to dusk, but there's enough light that I can get a nice view of Chewbacca with the buildings behind. Chewbacca is much more tolerant of my presence than the other beavers, so I feel fairly comfortable moving around on shore to get in position, to get nice water level views. He's just very hard to spook. And eventually, just as Chewbacca thought he was finished, a 6th beaver arrived from upstream, and Chewbacca decided he didn't want company, and he continued on his way, leaving just the one little beaver. In this case, I know I saw 6 different beavers because they all arrived from upstream, which is where their lodge is, and all of them continued on downstream. So it was a really great evening. I found a very great spot, and I was so lucky that so many beavers came by during my visit. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. Cheers.